Hey guys, it's me Spencer with actually a brand new series on my channel. I will call it Learning the Wildlife of Our World. Now in this series I will be showcasing these animals to you, and I'll be basically teaching you a little bit about these animals, and I will be using these figurines from the company Schleich, I believe that's how you pronounce it. I'll try and put a link in the description below so that you guys can find these figurines for your own collection. But because they're very cool and very accurate and very true to the real thing, and to the real things, and that's why I'm using them for this. So this one will be showcasing the rattlesnake. This is the first showcase that I will be doing on this channel for them. And so without further ado, let's just get started on talking about the amazing features of the rattlesnake and its lifestyles and how to be safe around them. So I will be breaking up the rattlesnake's features into 4 categories. 1, the rattle. 2, the fangs. 3, the scales of its body. And 4, last of all, its night vision. So let's get started with the rattle. The rattle is, to a rattlesnake, the rattle is its fearful warning. It's the rattlesnake saying, "Get away and stay away," and it often works, not all the time though. They have many predators that they need to avoid. But anyway, they will use this rattle whenever they feel threatened, and that's just their warning for you to stay away, and for any predator to stay away and just to leave it alone. It is made out of keratin, which is the same material that our fingernails are made out of, and it's pretty cool. I like how it's made out of keratin. When you feel your fingernail, it's a pretty rough material, so it's not a bad material to be made out of. It's made out of these loose segments of keratin, and they just kind of click together. When the rattlesnake shakes its rattle, they just click together to make just to create the rattle sound that you hear whenever a rattlesnake is present and it sees you. Every time the snake sheds its skin and a new layer of skin comes out on the rattlesnake, it adds a segment to its rattle, and I think that that's pretty cool. Yet a little on the creepy side, but anyway. Then come the fangs. The fangs are hollow, which means that they are like empty on the inside. There's nothing on the inside to block the venom from coming through into their opponent. After the rattlesnake has rattled, hissed, and curled, it will strike, and it will stick these fangs into its opponent. And once these fangs are into the opponent, there are these muscles. I'm not sure if these muscles do this. I think it's when it strikes its opponent that these muscles back here on the sides of its jaws, right there and right there, they will act as like a tube of toothpaste, because they will squeeze the venom down the ducts, through the fangs, and into their opponent. And that is very cool. Not a lot of people understand that the venom isn't stored directly in the fangs of the rattlesnake. It is originally found in the sides of its jaws, and these muscles squeeze it out. When not in use, the rattlesnake will simply put when it's not using them, it will put its fangs and store them away in the roof of its mouth. So right here on the top, you see there, on the roof of its mouth, it will just hide away the fangs. And that will just be simple, and it will just hide them away up there in the tip, on the roof of their mouth. So that's nice that they won't have them be getting in the way of them until they need them again. They don't use their fangs at all for chewing their food. They don't at all. They have to. These fangs are not meant for that. Instead, they're meant for biting. That's really the only use that they have. These fangs is for biting, whether it be prey or predator or just a danger. It's for biting. Next is the scales, and the texture. Well, not really texture, just the way that its body looks, the camouflage that it's got. So first, these little scales, where my thumb is pointing there, you see these little squares. If my camera will focus, there's these little squares that you guys can see there. Well, not really squares, they're kind of like a diamond. They're just there. The rattlesnake, if you can't tell, has a lot of diamonds on it. But these little scales right there will act in many, many, many different ways. But I will only mention one of its uses at this particular time. So, one of the coolest uses for these scales is to keep the rattlesnake cool. And the way that they do this is whenever there's a little drip of water that gets on the rattlesnake, or more, these scales will take the water to the surface of the snake's skin. And this will keep the snake, or at least help to keep the snake cool in a place where almost no animals can dwell and still thrive. And that, I think, is just very cool. It will use like a little sticky I'm picturing it kind of like syrup, kind of like a sticky not really material, just kind of like a sticky like liquid stuff that just kind of takes the water down to the surface of its skin through its scales. And I think that that's very cool. The second use of the way that it looks is, like, if you look right there on the rattlesnake, you see these little diamonds. And I'm not sure how the diamonds help with this, but actually, well, I mean, it just looks like the desert floor. Like, if you just look at the rattlesnake from the top view, the whole rattlesnake just looks like the desert floor. And if you were walking, just calmly walking in the desert, having your morning walk, you wouldn't even know. The rattlesnake's camouflage is so realistic to the desert floor that you wouldn't even know that the rattlesnake was there until it was right there at your feet and moving and rattling. That's how realistic its camouflage is to the desert floor. And I think that that's awesome, but also a little scary to think about because, you wouldn't even know it was there. So that's one of the uses, that it protects itself from predators and from any danger that it might be in. Now I will talk about its heat vision. Now, a rattlesnake has a heat vision in which it senses an animal's heat. This is a sixth scent that the rattlesnake has, and it will use this sixth scent to track down its prey. It will use it to hunt by following the source of the heat and therefore finding its prey, which would be the source. Once it gets there, it also helps the rattlesnake to detect whether the source of the heat is one of its many predators or if it's one of its prey. That's a very important thing for the rattlesnake to detect, because it wouldn't want to get attacked by a predator thinking that it's prey. You wouldn't want that to happen if you were the rattlesnake. So that's one of its many uses for the heat vision. It helps detect by the heat whether it's predator or prey, and it helps it to hunt by following the heat source of its prey until it comes to its prey and eats it. Once it, so yeah, I'll get to that later. Well, not the heat vision. I'm done with the heat vision, but there's another part I was going to say. But anyway, I'll get to that later. The heat vision, that's all I have for the heat vision. So I will be moving on to some of the lifestyles and behaviors of the rattlesnake. The rattlesnake will actually take shelter in little snake holes like this to stay secure, like this one that I've made here. It'll stay cooler in there rather than out in the really burning hot sun, and it will just stay a lot cooler in there than anywhere else really that it could be in, like the Saharan desert or wherever it might be. So that's one of its characteristics. It actually is most active during like the coolest parts of the year, which might be like spring and like spring might be the coolest time of year. I'm not sure, but in cooler times of the year, in the early mornings is when it's most active. And this rattlesnake will be out hunting and stuff. And so the way it hunts is it actually will, once it tracks its prey with its heat vision, it will bite its prey. That's one of the reasons that it has its fangs and venom, is to bite its prey, and to that venom will destroy its prey so that the rattlesnake can then eat it. After the prey is bitten, it is very shortly dead, and afterwards the rattlesnake will swallow its prey whole. When hunting, it will either, I said follow its prey. I correct myself. They will, well, I guess they do follow it sometimes, but they will lie in wait for their prey until it comes, or they will seize it in a hole. So I guess they would follow it out and seize it in a hole, but they would just lie in wait for their prey to come. And then they would bite it and swallow it whole once it was dead. Sometimes, however, the prey will get bitten, but then will somehow manage to escape. Even if this happens, the rattlesnake has a way to hunt down its prey still. The prey's smell will be able to be tracked down. So the rattlesnake will track down its dying prey, and then once the prey is dead, it will be able to track it down and then again eat it. So I think that that's pretty cool. I personally think that that's awesome. Another thing is the rattlesnake will shed its skin multiple times per year, and so that's just throwing that out there. And I think that if you hear pounding, it's just my little siblings above. I mean, you guys have known that in the past, but I think that might be it for the characteristics of the rattlesnake. It actually, I found this interesting, that it actually sleeps at night rather than hunts. I didn't think that was actually something that happened, but it sleeps at night rather than hunts, and I thought that was interesting. I don't know if maybe I already said that, I'm not sure. But anyway, and then it would hunt more at daytime. Now I will talk about something that's very important to talk about on the subject of rattlesnakes, and that is how to be safe around them. Now keep in mind that I have researched about this, and I have been in the presence of a rattlesnake, which was in a cage, but still, I'm just kidding, guys. I have researched on the topic, and I know how to be safe around a rattlesnake. And so the way that you would, it just scares us because it has been estimated that annually the number of bites from venomous snakes have been around 8,000 to 10,000 people annually get bitten by venomous snakes. And among those snakes are rattlesnakes. So we want to be careful around them, these rattlesnakes. And I will simply tell you guys how you can be safe around them. So if you're on a trail in the desert, if you're in a park, like a national park, and you're in the desert and you're on a trail and you hear a rattlesnake's rattle, first step is to stop. Stop in your trail. Don't move. Don't move at all. If you move, if you're moving, picture this. Picture you being the rattlesnake. If you see this gigantic monster in front of you with these sharp grooves in its hiking boots and this really long, jagged spear in its hand, which is your hiking stick, it's the humans, the monster, you know what I'm saying, but you would feel threatened as well. So that's perfectly understandable why the rattlesnake would feel threatened around you. So, that being said, you would stop. You wouldn't continue going toward the rattlesnake. That's not smart. You would stop immediately in your tracks. The second step is you would listen. You would listen all around you and analyze your situation. And if you can't find, you might be able to find the rattlesnake if you just listen around. Then after you spot it and you've analyzed the smartest way to move away from it, then the third step comes in. You retreat. Now, by this, I do not mean you turn around and run as fast as your legs can carry you. No, do not do that. That will be very unsmart and very unsafe. The thing that you would correctly do would be, you would just very slowly and carefully, sorry for the pounding, guys, that's my younger siblings, but you would very carefully step back, very carefully and slowly step back away from the rattlesnake. You step very carefully away from the rattlesnake and give it its space. You just sneak carefully away. Then it won't bite you. Well, maybe it would, but there's no guarantees, but that's the smartest way to avoid a snake bite, is by just simply backing away. Because now if you know where the rattlesnake is, you know what the best place would be to back off to. And you gotta fight that urge to just panic and run. Instead, you need to just back away carefully. And so therefore, that's how you be safe around a rattlesnake. As soon as you're far enough away from the rattlesnake, which by that's far away from the rattlesnake, you would go farther than just a few feet away from the rattlesnake. You would just walk to those you were with and you'd be safe. And if you have any little siblings or little children with you, like nephews or nieces, or just your own children or your siblings, just make sure that they do the same thing. And don't let them go near the rattlesnake, or just keep going, or don't let them panic either. As much as you can, of course. Their decisions aren't up to you. But just try your best. The thing that, so I think that's it. I said that like I was going to say something really important, but I think that pretty much clears it up. But the thing is that you just do not want to all of a sudden be scared of rattlesnakes, because the last part I touched on was that how to be safe around them. They're not people have found them in their cars or on their front porch steps, but that isn't likely to happen. It only happens to a few people, and even if it does, you just know how to be safe around them. If you're prepared, you shouldn't fear. That's a scripture, so just be safe, and you know how. I love rattlesnakes, but let's stay safe around them, okay? And that doesn't mean that they're bad or that you're bad. You just need to back away from them and give them their space, and then they will continue to be a cool animal to you. So I think that's about it for the first video of this series. Let me know down in the comments how you like this series. And I haven't been around for a while. I apologize for that, guys, but I've had other things come up, and I have moved since my last video, and I'm thankful that, or I'm sorry that I haven't been really around. I'm not thankful for it, but you know what I mean. Sorry about that, guys, but I haven't been around for a while, but I'm coming back, and I'm going to start doing this new series, and I'm thankful for your guys' support. I'm still doing relatively well. I haven't really grown on subscribers since I haven't been doing anything, but but thank you for your patience, and please continue to subscribe and to like my videos, and I love you guys, and I hope you guys can learn something from this video, and so yeah, that'll be it. Bye, guys.